Hello, everyone. Welcome. We'll dive right in and people can go ahead and join when they see fit. So, I want to take this time to welcome everyone and thank you for attending this session. Artificial Intelligence in Language Service, an Opportunity or a Threat. Our presenter is Meki Elbandry. Um, I will be your moderator today. I'm Stephanie Mercurio. I graduated from CUNY SPS twice. I actually have two masters from CUNY SPS, and it has been wonderful being able to use those in the real world. Before we get to the presentation, there are a few announcements. As you can see at the top of the Zoom, this session is being recorded, and this will be published to CUNY SPS on their website after the conference concludes. Please keep your mics muted to avoid any disruption throughout the session. We do have closed caption enabled to make sure this is accessible to everyone. And some people have your camera on, some of you have your camera off. Either way, please be mentally present and engage throughout the presentation. That being said, this is a learning environment and we want everyone to share their experiences in the chat so this can be collaborative and we can all learn together. There will be a raffle for this conference, and information on how to enter the raffle will be provided at the end of this session. As I said, this is a learning environment and we encourage people to ask questions, but please hold off on asking them until after Meki has finished his presentation. I ask that everyone populates their questions in the chat, and when Meki is done presenting, I will ask them in the order that they have come in. So with that being said, please allow me to introduce our presenter, Meki Elbandry, who is going to chat about artificial intelligence in language services, opportunity or a threat. Meki, thank you so much for being here today. I pass the mic over to you.
Hello, thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. Thanks for your moderation. Thanks, Elizabeth, for your support. Thank you, all of you, for attending this. I was about to say this evening because it's evening for me here in Africa. I'm joining from Nairobi, Kenya. But I know it's afternoon for many of you in New York, but hi, wherever you are and whatever the time. Thank you for joining my colleagues at SPSS, CUNY, especially the members of the Visionary Voices project, our professors and staff, especially Professor Tara. Thank you very much for your support. Great to see you all here. I will share my PowerPoint presentation. I will do my best to make the presentation short and simple, and I would like to give more time for questions, comments, or any advice. So the topic is artificial intelligence and language services. As you know, I am Meki Elbandry. In this presentation, I will give a brief introduction. I'll give a background, a historical background that led to AI in language services, mainly talking about the impact of technology on language services, the current status, future trends and expectations, AI promise for language services, challenges, inclusion and accessibility issues, and I will end with a conclusion. So as an introduction, why language services? Actually, I have been working in the language services for almost 30 years, and I have seen the profession changes with adopting and experimenting with different types of technology. Technology has influenced language services a lot. I'll explain that, from age, when people used to use just paper and pencil to translate, or just translate orally, to using all types of software application now. This presentation is a kind of an overview. As a disclaimer, whatever I present here is my own, based on my own experience and research. There is not a lot of research now in this area, but there is a lot of experimenting and using different tools. I depend on my personal experience, my colleagues, and whatever research is available. And in conclusion, I will ask you the question whether you think AI will be or is a threat or an opportunity for language services. As a historical background, the machine translation systems started very long time ago, since the end of within the Cold War era, during the World War II and afterwards, in the competition between the Soviet Union and the US, people tried to develop machine translations to translate as much as they can of each other's documentation to understand what they are thinking about, what they are planning. But those systems didn't last long. They were not very successful. They were very expensive, and the results were not good. So the first machine translations failed. Then came what's called CAT tools, which were computer-assisted translation tools. And this came towards the end of the 20th century, early 21st century. And they were very successful because those systems depended on translations produced by human beings. Then they were reused by machines to provide suggestions for translators. And they were very successful among translators. They were adopted very quickly by many translators, as they depended on their own work or the work of other translators. Then with the development of computer systems, machine translations came back again, and more powerful computers produced better machine translations. Came what is called statistical translation, on which many systems that people know, like Google Translation or Bing translations, are based. And these were also successful, and they were very quickly combined with CAT tools to produce new translation systems. Then there came the era of artificial intelligence. This is very recent. And we hear a lot about the LLMS. And I would like to talk about the L at the heart of LLMS. What is LLMS? LLMS stands for Large Language Models. And we see the word language is at the heart of that acronym. Although people use the acronym a lot to talk about all types of artificial intelligence systems that are used for different reasons, but they forget that there is language at the middle there. Why there is language? Because those systems depend on large corpora that are used for all types of purposes, like customer services, like in the medical field, healthcare, all types of systems that are now used to provide services depending on artificial intelligence. They were based on large language corpora that is used to train those machines and to make them more acting like humans. And with this development, again, we have the re-emergence of another emergence of machine translation, which now is called neuro machine translation, mainly machine translation that depend on artificial intelligence. The current status, there are many platforms that provide translations for the general public and for language professionals, like DeepL, Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT, DeepSeek. All these, they provide different type of services for research, for solving all kinds of problems that we know about or we can imagine. And they present also they offer translations of different languages. The question is asked is, will these systems replace translators, language professionals, or be a support tool for language personnel? Language professionals, actually, given the development they have seen with using different types of technology and tools, they are adopting artificial intelligence in their work. So what is the promise of AI for language professionals? AI promises faster production of large quantities of text that humans cannot handle in normal situations. Promises higher quality of translations because of the larger corpora on which they depend. Consistency, given or assuming the ability of computers to compare so many different texts and provide more consistent results, saving time and effort, and equity, because for some languages you might not find enough human translators, but machine translations can be developed for any languages for which there are material that we could depend on. But there are challenges to this promise. First, the language professionals' attitudes towards the AI. Many of them see it as a new tool they are experimenting with, they are trying to use. Some of them they are hesitant about the machine translation or AI translation. They don't trust it, and some are fearful of the impact of this on the profession, on the jobs in the future. There is generally uncertainty, according to research, among language professionals towards toward AI role in language services. What are the challenges? The challenges are customer expectations. People think that, okay, you have machines that translate, that's great. Then we can have, for example, very fast turnout. We will have very accurate translation. We will not need translators or human being to translate anymore. Competitiveness, there is competition between the humans and the machines. To what extent people will choose whether to use machine or human or combination. How the machine would deal with different cultural issues, with human emotions, whether they will be able to help with that or not. The diversity of languages and human societies, the complexity of human language itself. Sometimes the machines give completely unacceptable or results that are with hallucination, as they call it in the AI domain, or with inaccurate results. The diversity of the media. So, for example, machines are good translating written language, but when it comes to spoken language, there are challenges that the machine faces. How the machine would deal with sign language. Sign language depends on gestures, facial expressions, body language in general, showing emotions in different ways. In-person and remote communication, how will the AI systems deal with them? Until now, the results are not equal on all different domains. More challenges are related to the question of inclusion and accessibility. as I mentioned at the beginning, AI systems depend on language corpora. Languages are not equal in their available corpora. There are some languages that have very large corpora, for example, like English, and those the results would be good. There are some minority languages, and minority languages not necessarily spoken by a small group of people. They might be spoken by millions of people, but they don't have corpora that are large enough to train and to feed the AI systems to produce the results we need. I mentioned earlier the question of accuracy and cultural sensitivity. When you give the machine a machine text from a remote language in a remote area for which there is not enough corpora, there is not enough background, and there are completely different cultural norms and expectations, and for the machine to translate it, to what extent will it be accurate? And the question of serving people with disabilities, to what extent will the AI tools be helpful? And this has been mentioned by other colleagues during this conference. I gave the example of sign language. The question of bias, it has been proved that AI systems show bias to those who develop them, and this bias could be reflected in their production of language material. In conclusion, the question is, what is the future of AI in language services? Generally, it's considered a useful tool by language professionals. However, AI could endanger the language professions because, as we already see, translations become cheap and available online for everyone who wants it. But however, it could be also a blessing because with more production of translations, there would be more demand for reviewers, or as they are called, post editors. So translators might change profiles. Instead of translating themselves, they will be more reviewing and giving feedback about the AI translations. Actually, in future, even human professionals, human language professionals, could be rare species because there will be not many of them, and those who are there, who are in the market, they might be more demand for them and for their work. And this could be sought after by organizations that would lead higher quality of translations, or by individuals. For example, if you are given a novel translated by machine and a novel translated by a human being, some people might prefer the one translated by human being. The question is whether the artificial intelligence is an opportunity or a threat. So based on this very quick presentation, I would like us to ask you to give your feedback. You may answer in the chat, or you may raise your hands to give your feedback. Thank you very much for attending again. And I look forward to hearing, answering questions, depending on your interests, your background, and what you think of this compared to other areas that you might be interested in. Thank you very much, and back to you, Stephanie.
Thank you, Meki. This was wonderful. I have definitely jotted down a couple of questions, but would anyone like to kick us off? Frank has asked, has anyone used Google Translate?
So the question is for me,
I guess
or
this is more of like a general thing. I know I've
question?
used Google Translate and it has wildly fallen short. I work in aviation and there are times where I am in the operation and there are a multitude of different languages that are spoken. So trying to, find someone that speaks a different language, to find an actual translator, or to try, I like to try and decipher things myself, and using Google Translate has been one of those opportunities that has gotten me to the finish line, but we took a couple of detours.
Yeah.
So Frank says in the chat that it's supposedly Google Translate uses AI.
Yes, actually, Google Translate, when it started, it used to use statistical machine translation. That means it compare the text with so many available text and
Mm-hmm.
gives the most frequent equivalent, which is might not be always the accurate equivalent. But now it developed towards using AI, which is more, there is kind of reasoning and inference and choice depending on many parameters, not only statistical. I think a lot of people use it. I sometimes use it. If I have a text for a
Mm-hmm.
language that I don't know anything about, I would use Google Translate or other tools. Also, there is Bing translation, as I mentioned. ChatGPT gives translation. All tools actually they provide translations. And when translators use them, usually they compare results from different tools. And they find always, or most of the time, they need to intervene to improve the translation. Uh, I don't think there are professional translators who take an AI or machine translation and provide it to the customer immediately. This could be catastrophic.
It sounds it. It sounds it. Moving to the chat, Harmony has asked, thank you for sharing, Meki. In terms of biases and disabilities, AI creators or AI of artificial intelligence can work with marginalized groups to understand their concerns and objectives.
I think this would be an ideal situation. And we hope this would happen with the development of these tools. But as we know them now, much of these tools are produced by companies for profit, and the input of marginalized societies, of people with with specific needs, are not clearly taken into consideration at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, However, I think there is a lot of research going on in universities, in different institutions around the world, and these could be more inclined to taking those into consideration, and hopefully this will feed into the products that are produced to the larger public.
I think there's definitely a lot of opportunity there. Great question, Harmony.
Yeah.
Mikhail, what is your opinion on this? Will people stop learning languages? That's an interesting take.
That is an interesting question, and it's difficult to answer. Actually, this is here. I do not depend on any research, but I
Mm-hmm.
will answer this based on my own perception. I think human language is part of our human nature, of being human, and people like using language, learning about language. Uh, it's I'm now in Africa. When you say hello to someone in their own language, it has a great effect on them, rather than just talking to them in a foreign language. So I don't think people will stop learning language, but the reasons for learning languages might differ. And the ways of learning languages might differ. We know that there are tools that help us with a lot of our needs, but we might learn language. It's the same for travel. You might travel for work, for job, and you might travel for pleasure. So we learn language for pleasure, but
Mm-hmm.
even these tools, we always need language professionals who will work with them, who will improve them, who will, and the more we use them, we might need more experts to 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 help with developing them. So they might not stop learning languages, but it's already seen that language departments in many universities are not as attractive as they used to be in the past. Or people tend to study languages in combination with other disciplines, but not languages on their own.
Interesting, interesting. In the chat, Harmony and Frank both agree that languages do evolve over time. So at least in the short term, there's people aren't going to stop learning languages. And also, I guess depending on the regions in which you're from, dialects can be different. So saying, translate into Spanish, it could be different from Spanish from Spain and Spanish in the Dominican Republic. So there's a lot of nuance that is in there.
Yeah.
Mikhail did comment that ChatGPT has a free version. Google integrated a free version of AI in the search engine. So it's a question for the marginalized community. So there could be those smaller regional languages that aren't necessarily accounted for when it comes to the coding behind this technology.
Yes. Yes, you are right. I agree.
Okay. Tara has asked, I have used DeepL to translate an open education resource from English to Spanish. Do you have suggestions regarding other translation platforms that could handle large volumes of information, such as textbooks?
I am sure that some exist, but until now, I don't know of any that is available because those that are available for the public usually they are they are designed in a way to handle small chunks of text. So you need to insert small pieces at a time and then accumulate it. For translators who use machine translation or who use CAT tools. For example, there is WordFast, which is well known among especially freelance translators. There is SDL Tradus, and there are others. Those enable you to upload the whole document, but then to go you can ask the system you can either go segment by segment translating and confirming, or you can ask the software to translate the whole document. And they do that. And but still they need someone to compare to make sure that they didn't mix up things, they didn't you cannot depend on this type of translation completely.
Of course, of course. I know there's one more question that we have in the chat from Hel. There was a note in yesterday's conference about AI and education. Is it a good idea to study in your own language? Translating the books is it more beneficial to study textbooks in your own language or a translation?
This is a question. This is a question that is difficult to answer because I think it's generally known that people understand better when they learn in their own languages rather than in a foreign language. However, if the translation is done by a human being or is done by a machine and then reviewed by a human being, then it will be reliable and it would be better to study in that text. But a translation that is completely done by machine might be misleading, might have contain errors, and it might be harmful rather than useful.
Thank you. Harmony, I see you have a hand raised.
Yes, thank you so much. I just want to add real quick, especially to that particular question that was taken, because I know I had some tech issues yesterday. Yes, it's actually possible. So this also still boils down to making AI kind of, integrated into the learning platform in such a way that if you want to learn in your local language, especially you could be like an immigrant, or or probably you speak Spanish. So having some kind of AI inclusion into the learning platform, especially in the educational system, could actually help students that are of different language learner. Yeah, it is possible. And again, it's also about human input and recognizing those biases and ensuring that everybody is actually carried along. Thank you.
Thank you, Harmony, for jumping in, and I enjoyed your presentation. It was for me this morning. It was 4
I
a.m.
appreciate that.
2 a.m. in the morning, and I attended it. It was very interesting. Yeah. I think they could be useful, like for certain, but I think there is always a need for verifying and for ensuring quality.
Thank you, Meki. All right, so that takes us to time. We are just over 12:30, so I want to thank Meki for being here. Ultimately, AI in language services, as we can see, is both an opportunity but also a challenge. And while it's used in almost every industry and it's used in general public, it's up to us to harness that potential thoughtfully and ensuring that the technology enhances human connection rather than replaces it. So thank you everyone for attending. In the chat, Elizabeth did drop a link to take our survey, so please don't forget to do that. For the raffle, CUNY SPS is running a raffle for those who complete this survey post-workshop. The more sessions you attend, the better chances of receiving a prize. Prizes include student leadership conference swag, so totes, water bottles, fun things like that, as well as gift cards. CUNY SPS students are eligible to win both swag and gift cards, and alumni, faculty, staff, and CUNY students are eligible to win the swag. So please click that link, or you can look out for the survey via email. And we encourage you to share your thoughts so we can continue to improve and make this an iterative process. So thank you, Meki, our amazing presenter, and everyone who attended. Do we know what the next session is right after this using this one?
Yes, so the next session is disabling AI, an approach to deconstructing ableism in data and design. And it's happening right now.
All right, everyone. So if you want to attend that session, please hop onto it. Thank you so much, and everyone have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for attending. Thank you for your comments, and great to see you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Thanks.